Omega Seamaster collection is probably one of the most recognizable collections in Swiss watchmaking, thanks in no small part to the pop culture renaissance of the Seamaster 300 and the James Bond franchise, and before that, its popularity among actual divers. However, the collection is far more extensive than just the Seamaster itself, and true fans of the brand should be acquainted with the lesser-known but equally unique Railmaster, part of the Seamaster Heritage Collection. In 2017, Omega resurrected the Seamaster Railmaster after it was discontinued in 2012. In 1959, the first Railmaster was forged specifically for, as the name suggests, railroad engineers, since Omega built in extra protection against magnetism and electric fields, at least as good as they were able to with 50s tech. The Railmaster is certainly a sleeper in Omega's catalog, so in this hands-on review, we're going to show you why it should warrant just as much consideration as Omega's other flagship references, and we'll talk a bit about who's right for this heavily vintage-inspired sports field watch hybrid. So let's dive in. The first thing that we notice is that the Railmaster felt palpably familiar, even though this was the first time we got hands-on with the watch. And then it hit us, the Seamaster Aquaterra. Side by side, there's distinct similarities from the case shape itself all the way down to the inverted triangular indices on the dial. And speaking of the dial, it's as if Omega salvaged old Levi's for this truly unique vertical pattern. It's extremely well executed, and this could easily have been a disaster. We'll talk about why this could have been the case in just a bit. As such, it really stands out in contrast to other Seamaster references. Also, it's the absolute perfect size. At 40mm with full brushing virtually everywhere, it's highly wearable, even on our wearer here with the wrist size just a touch under 8 inches. Even though this is situated amongst other heritage references in the broad Seamaster collection, this is certainly proportioned as a field watch. The marine gray 316L stainless steel case uses directional brushing just about everywhere you look, and you'll have a hard time finding anything else. The coolest part is that this matches so well with the vertically brushed dial that had Omega done anything different, it would have surely thrown off the entire viewing experience. Dimensionally, it's just a touch north of what you'd expect from your standard issue field watch. Think Hamilton with a khaki field at 38mm, or even up to the Tudor Ranger at 39. It still wears comfortably despite a relatively thick 12.7mm height and a modest lug-to-lug of 47mm. On the wrist, it wears quite true to size, but the semi-tonneau style case with a set of twisted lugs does an excellent job of keeping it compact. In many ways, the proportions should suit just about any wrist. With closer observation, part of the reason it sits so high may be due to the bezel, since it sports a pretty steep slope angle, and the dial also sits pretty low inside the case under the sapphire. On the 180, the Railmaster's screw-down case back really impresses, with an abstract seahorse design, bold Railmaster smiling text, and Omega's logo at the 6, all set against a fine geometric pattern. While the case is beautifully finished and proportioned, the real showstopper is the vertically brushed denim-like dial background. It's not too hard to decipher that the Railmaster has a direct connection to the railway industry, and if you dive even deeper, the workwear worn by its engineers. Now, sometimes, and take for example any motorsports-inspired watches, as these are the most common examples, watchmakers will try to instill design elements from the track or the cars themselves into the design of the dial. I think we can all point to both good and bad examples. The absolute classics from Tag Heuer like the Carrera or Monaco with hyper-recognizable dashboard-inspired chrono subdials, and on the other end of the spectrum, Hublot's Big Bang Automatic. We won't say which is which, but you can probably take a guess. Same holds true for Omega with the Railmaster. Incorporating a denim pattern or a notoriously cheap blue-collar material into a watch that retails for $5,200 is certainly bold. And had this idea been undertaken by any other watchmaker less skilled than Omega, it probably would have flopped. Let's take a closer look. In fact, let's take an extremely close look. The real genius behind the texture is that although it's applied relatively flat, there's variation in gradation in value and color just like real denim. And when you back up as if to take a normal glance at your wrist, these attributes provide a lot of depth. The other dial elements only serve to accentuate the background, like the 4 recessed cardinal hour markers and inverted triangular indices, which are applied in a light gray superluminova and glow a beautiful bright aqua blue in the dark, same as the lume inset within the baton-style hands that sit at the center of the dial's crosshair pattern. Railroad tracks are constructed from hot-rolled steel and are completely uncoated, which oxidizes rather quickly in the elements. The seconds hand and Railmaster script above the 6 remind us of the golden color of the rust-covered tracks or even boxcars. Plus, it perfectly accents the light blue background and serves as a good bit of color theory by Omega. Electric-powered trolleys and trams have been around almost as long, if not longer, than steam-powered locomotives, and the original Railmaster was purpose-built to withstand EMFs or any other interference emitted from this infrastructure. The modern Railmaster's mechanics are no less durable, courtesy of the Omega Coaxial Master Chronometer Caliber 8806, a movement that can withstand a magnetic field as strong as 15,000 Gauss. In order of magnitude, to give you some context, 15,000 Gauss is what you'd expect from your standard issue MRI system, which is to say you'll be safe donning the Railmaster virtually anywhere. The 8806 is self-winding with METIS Master Chronometer certification, or to put it plainly, the most stringent testing currently developed, that sees a watch undertake 8 different tests over the course of 10 full days, to measure its accuracy and durability. The caliber runs with the aid of 35 joules, beats at a frequency of 3.5 Hz, and has a 55-hour power reserve for several full days of use between winds. Even though you can't see it through the screw-down case back that uses a Naiad lock design to keep the wording in position, the movement sports a free-sprung balance with a silicone balance spring and full automatic winding in both directions, courtesy of a centrally mounted rotor with rhodium-plated finishing and arabesque Geneva waves. Omega currently offers the Railmaster with a few different bracelet and strap options, and there's even a true denim NATO you can pick up that will sink the whole price point just shy of 5K. But if you want the Railmaster to remain a bit more versatile, we'd suggest a matching 3-row fully brushed stainless steel bracelet. Like many of Tissot's references around this price point, Omega opted for a double push-button butterfly style clasp, but it functions a bit differently as it'll open in 2 stages. The first, aided by the push buttons, and the second stage, which needs some light pressure to unhinge. We think this is the perfect watch for someone who's looking for a versatile, high-accuracy field meets sports watch with a very unique dial character that most other modestly crafted field watches don't currently offer. You'll see a lot of the same monochrome high-vis dial designs in the field watch space, and it can often get boring pretty quickly. But if you like the size of a field watch and its styling cues but want something out of the box, the Omega Railmaster is both tough-looking and reserved because of its size and full brushing along the case, and can definitely be dressed up and dressed down. This is to say that the Omega Seamaster Railmaster is one of the best luxury field meets sports watches currently in production, and it certainly could use more attention.